Today we will discuss on the topic Unit 8, that is journalistic writing forms for the semester 2 journalism UG students. In this unit I will cover how to write review writings, editorial writings, opinion writings and column writings. Other than this, generally in the newspapers we see only news in the page 1, that is which is happened yesterday, but you do not know there is more writing forms. Those are published in the middle of the page, that is in generally we call it is editorial page, open editorial page. Sometimes some newspapers call it is a review pages, whatever it is. All these comes under the journalistic writing. Only news, generally we call it is soft news, and there is a future stories, there is a review stories, editorial stories, opinion stories, all these we call it is a hard news. Hard news and soft news is some difference. Let us discuss one by one about these various kinds of journalistic writings. Every bit of effective writing for print media calls for a separate style. Writers should be clear, simple, brief, but effective and complete. Journalistic writing is the style of writing used to report news stories in newspapers, journals, magazines, etc. There is one flexibility for future writing, for journalistic other forms of writing other than news and remaining. There is a no flexible and casual for news writing, but here in future writing, opinion writing and editorial writing, there is some flexibility. There is some casual writing also possible with these other kinds of journalistic writing. The characteristics of journalistic writing are attractive, easy to spot. The main goal is finding a topic that people care about it, because if it is not interested to the people or reader, it may be not used for printing, even though we have lost space. In the newspaper the space is very precious, so we could not waste the space. So that is why what we have choosing, the topic is very much important to us while writing these other kinds of feature writings. The more interested people are in the subject, the more popular your article will be. It is also helps when writing an article if you have real passion behind the story you are telling. There are different forms of journalistic writing, already we have discussed. They are news writing, feature writing, review writing, editorial writing, opinion writing, column writing, etc. As you know, the news writing in generally in the page 1, page 2, we see all those are news, means the latest information which happened the day before that published date. But here review writing is partly opinion and partly fact based, because in the news, means the hard news, we could not cover all aspects in the first page. So that is why the reviews are important here. The review needs to accomplish two things. Number one is accurately describe or identify the subject being reviewed, and number 2, that is provide an intelligent and informed opinion of the subject. Unlike a straight news story, much of what is written about entertainment or arts needs more than simple facts or interpretation. Successful review of books, art exhibitions, films and drama, radio, television programs calls for an expertise in journalistic writing, which is different from all other forms of news writing. Here is a duty for the writer who was writing news, writing reviews. A review writer is to give factual details about the performance, basic information such as who performed, where was the performance held, or when did the music concert take place, brief summary of its contents, and audience reaction, all these be included in the review writing. A review writer is aware of the standards and evaluates it's within the framework of such standards. Don't bias a particular style of art, a writer or a composer, because each writer or a style of art or a composer has a lakhs of fans. So if you are in your writing, review writing, if you mentioned, otherwise if you are biased, you will get some consequences of facing threats. So be alert. You must be right on the facts here, because firstly I told you about this review writings based on the facts. Seasoned critics, analysts and specialists in various fields of review contributes to print media regularly, because these are not the part of the some organization. They do their means here they were work as an independent journalist. So they do analysts, they do critics, they do write some specialist on the particular field of their contribution. So occasionally they will involve in the writing of reviews. Senior staffers do some reviewing, but there is a rarely full-time critic employed by any publication. Even film reviewers who are on the regular role of a publication are called upon for other writing and journalistic writing works also they allotted by the editor or bureau of chief. So they do work for the film review and also any journalistic work other than film review. It is possible with the assignment which is given by the editor or bureau of chief. Sometimes it is called a staff reporter, bureau of chief, various nomenclatures is there. While writing reviews, the critics should keep in mind that they are not writing for themselves, but they are addressing the readers. The critic's own viewpoint or to criticize the work for the sake of criticism or for the sake of controversy would not enhance the value of the writing. The work to be reviewed should be adjudged in a proper view, because we see in the many newspapers there is a note given in that after the review writing, there is the review is the based on the opinion of a writer only, not by the publication. So you may observe this note. The review should have two major elements. One is explain or describe, and the second one is assess or evaluate the work. Here cinema, television programs, the theatrical performance, dances like classical and popular, drawing, painting and carving, music, books and articles are the subjects of review and also criticism. Coming to discuss about the book review, large newspapers generally carry book reviews in the Sunday or weekend editions like Saturday or Friday. The critic has an opportunity to mold public taste and promote use of libraries and certain other cultural activities. In judging a book, the critics should not depend on the publisher's advertisement or publicity to flash. The importance of a popular of the author is also here considered, because generally people means readers thinks that if a point is published in the newspaper, they see who is the writer. The critic has a chance to give his own assessment. In the review, every aspect is carefully analyzed. The motivation of the author is ability to convey a philosophy or an idea, and his style are studied. While reviewing the book, decide on your introductory and closing remarks on the basis of the total impression that you have obtained about the book. Rearrange the points and then write the review. Coming to discuss about the cinema review. Cinema is a major source of entertainment and it is influence on the youth. A film reviewer is expected not only to tell a particular film is worth seeing or not, but also strive for quality in the medium, not just to promote a film, but to expert pressure on filmmakers to produce films with thematic and cinematic excellence. Here we already discussed about the film review. Film reviewer may be a full pledged staff of the publication in some publications, maybe he may be also a freelancer. The reviewer should also make efforts to keep side by side of the latest developments, including the economic and artistic trends in the film industry. Very few films are totally bad or entirely good. A review writer should be able to identify good and bad elements in the film that he evaluates. Readers depends on the critic's judgment, and if the critic appears to be biased or unreasonable, he loses his credibility. It is a major responsibility of a critic to help promote refinement in the film goer's taste. Coming to discuss about the television programs, means here we will, as a journalist, as a journalism student, you have to know about the how to write a review for television program. Television an important source of entertainment. The viewers demand quality programs. Producers and directors are realized the need for decent and good fare in the medium. For children, we are looking the care of the children. It is also important among its avid viewers. Besides, television is a serious social phenomenon and should be written about the attention it deserves. A performer's works cannot be dismissed just because it does not please or impress the critic. He should know that popular artists have lakhs of fans who adore them. A flip review or a writing unreasonably caustic criticism will not only risk the anger of those supporters. Let us discuss about the live performance review, how to write live performance review. Live performance including drama, music, lectures and dance are more difficult to evaluate than recorded entertainment, because earlier we discussed about the television program, that is already it is a recorded, but here it is a live performance. The task becomes more sensitive because the critic sees them in a person. In a live performance, the reviewer is expected to be a careful observer as well as a listener. He should recreate the performance or parts of it in the reader's mind. The critic of a live performance is expected to take into account external factors that could have affected the performance. Similarly, the critic should not compare the live performance of an artist with his performance in television or cinema, which are different media, because those are already recorded, but here it is live. If it is a new play, you should compare it with its earlier shows, but in any case the critic should not judge unpaid performance with professional standards. No reviewer can write with authority on art drawing, painting and carving without adequate knowledge of various forms of and interpretation of art. So, critic should know the basics of drawing, painting and carving also. Coming to discuss about the review writing, art reviews can be knowledgeable, thought provoking and it is a perfection, it is required in the art. discouraging or encouraging to the artist, all is possible with the art review. Much depends on the actual work under review. For honest critic, knowledge of art and developments in the world of art and also awareness of styles, modes of expression are essential for the review writer. Reviewer must have sharp knowledge of art and culture and should be able to write objectively, not subjectively. Another important section in this lesson, that is editorial writing. What is editorial? Editorial is defined as usually a brief article written by an editor that expresses a newspaper's or a publishing house own views and policies on a current issue. If written by an outsider, it normally carries a disclaimer saying that the article does not necessarily reflect the publisher's official views. Generally, there is a editor and editorial board who look in this editorial writing section. A newspaper should not confine its energy for publishing news reports accurately, but it should also comment editorially on important matters and events. An editor of a newspaper can use a lot of influence for the social good of the society. The editor of a widely circulated national newspaper is a keeper of the public conscience. The editorial policy of a newspaper should be based upon fairness and accuracy. It should not only be applied to the editorial, but also be applied to the news items published in the newspaper. Generally, the editor advises writers to write articles for his newspaper. He decides the subjects for the editorials and the lines upon which they are to run, especially when concern some controversial stories, topics. An editorial should always be written in an independent style. The editorials in leading newspapers are written in a broad-minded and unbiased manner. The editorial should support every action that symbolize dramatic principles. It should lend its strength to the freedom of all forms of expression. Generally, editorial appear at two places in a newspaper. The editorial general means a traditional position is on the editorial page. It may be a 4th page or a 5th page or 7th page based on that publication. In the left hand column under the paper's masthead. When an editorial is considered to be of sufficient importance, it may be placed on the front page of the newspaper. It is happens when the election results out. Thus, that time the editorial writing published in the front page. In this case, it will be labeled editorial and would possibly be enclosed in a box. Editorials are generally printed in a large type compared with the general news type size and in a wider column than other content on the editorial page. Here, while writing editorials, we should be keep some basic principles. They are: the structure of editorials vary from newspaper to newspaper. The old form of the editorial has often deviated from the breakup into 3 sections, that is number 1 topic, number 2 development, and the last one is conclusion. The informative or interpretative editorial, which makes up the greater number of editorial writings, these has to conform to this pattern as a normal rule. There is a 2 types, informative and another one is interpretative editorial. The editorial in itself is a class or a rare feature in Indian journalism. It depends to a great extent to the individual writer. The controversial writing must be convinced and interest. Often it is restored to because it attracts more easily than other writings. Already we have discussed there is a two types of editorial. Number one is informative editorials. In this part, the informative editorials and human interest articles must give the reader something new and different. If you cannot hold the reader's attention in the first few sentences, it is not likely that you will be read at all. Always use pronoun we rather than I for an editorial. It is not the voice of an individual, but of the newspaper itself, an institution or that publication. Let us look about the editorial writer's functions. Editorial writers, already we have discussed editorial writings by the editor or the team of the editorial board. Editorial writers feel passionately about the public affairs and matters concerning people so strongly that they must express themselves. Editorial writer needs to explain and analyze the news with reference to the prevailing situation. The editorial writer must present facts honestly with everything in its proper context and avoid destoring any situation. There is many types of editorials. Among them, the important one is 7 editorials are identified. Number one, editorial of information, editorial of interpretation, editorial of criticism, and one is commendation, appreciation or tribute. Editorial of argumentation and editorial of entertainment and also mood editorial. These are the some important types in the editorial. Editorial of information. It seeks to give information on facts of a news, stories and add other facts within minimum explanation. Another one is interpretation. It explains the significance of a meaning of a news event. Another important section in this unit, that is opinion writing. An article in which the writer expresses is a professional and personal opinion, typically one which is controversial or provocative about a particular issue or item of a news, is called an opinion piece. While a news writer's role is to inform objectively, the opinion writer's purpose is to inform and pursue. Two things is doing. Opinion writers share their personal insights with the reader, because a news writer is not he don't use his personal insights in the news. So here it is possible with the opinion writing. Opinion writer can combine the skills of a reporter, a scholar, an observer and an advocate to bring insights to an issue, an event or the course of everyday life. Opinion writer can educate citizens on an issue of the voiceless or underrepresented. One more important section here in this unit, that is column writing. The column is the opinion of one person, while the editorial is frequently the opinion of a group of people, editorial board members, but the column is a group of persons who regularly contribute their opinions to the newspaper, that particular publications. Sometimes it may be translated to the other regional newspapers also. The column is as varied as any form of journalistic writing. From columns to column, the writer can vary the topic, the writing structure, the writing style and the tone, everything is difference between the newspaper to newspaper. Columns should make a point, means for example, a sports columnist who looks in about the sports only, he writes the general columns about the sports only, that published in the sports page. The writer should find a focus and stick it to the particular subject only. The column should speak to an audience. While column writers may give personal opinions or share personal stories to make a point, the audience must find themselves engaged with the writing. It is possible with the column writing. Here the person who can also gives their own experiences, because he is particularly to some subject. For example, a sports person. For example, we see in the newspapers cricketer Gavaskar's column. So he is a subject to expert in the cricket. So he gives his opinions, his experience also in that particular column. While the column writer may use of the personal pronouns like I, it is not possible with the other types of writing. The column should never seem like it is all about the author. Each column should have a lead, body and conclusion. Successful reviewing of books, arts exhibition, films, drama, radio and television programs, even editorial, the voice of the newspaper, it seeks to encourage critical thinking, to mold opinion and to promote action. So they attract the readers to read their various kinds of writings for their publication. Thank you dear students for watching this video lesson.